Nate Bargatze, the Be Funny Tour.
I mean, Chuck E. Cheese is rough. I don't know if you've been there in a while. They look like they're trying to go to business and they can't.
All new material.
They filed for bankruptcy and they're still open. They called Blockbuster and they're like, how do you get out? We want out.
Nate Bargatze. Friday, May 31st, FedEx Forum. Tickets available at FedEx Forum box office or Ticketmaster.com. Produced by Outback Presents Nate Bargatze, the Be Funny Tour. Heart Royal Flush Tour 2024. November 14th, FedEx Forum. A journey through the hits and timeless classics. The iconic band returns with special guests. Jason Bonham's Led Zeppelin Evening. Tickets on sale now at heart-music.com. Heart with Jason Bonham's Led Zeppelin Evening. Produced by AEG Presents.
I think we have the college basketball title futures. UConn's number one.
I really like Houston. I'd have them winning it all, but you can't be giving Drake jerseys. What is wrong with you?
Maybe the Drake curse is stronger in college basketball.
Well, how long has he been riding with Kentucky?
He wore an Alabama jersey and Saban retired.
The Odds Couple with Rob Fisher, Lang Whitaker, John Roser, and CJ Hurt live Thursdays at 2 p.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Now for a limited time, the new $1.99 crispy tender wraps are here at Sonic. Who could deny a crispy chicken tender with bold flavors like hickory barbecue and cheesy Baja? And we can't forget the crisp lettuce and melty cheese to make the perfect bite. Wrap yourself up with some TLC, tender, love, and chicken for only $1.99. Sonic $1.99 crispy tender wraps. Tax not included, limited time only at participating Sonic drive-ins.
Live from the Built Ford Tough studio at FedEx Forum, it's the Gary Parrish Show, presented by Ortho South, on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app. Now, here's your host, Gary Parrish.
All right, I'm here. My name is Gary Parrish. I'm speaking to you from the Built Ford Tough studio, FedEx Forum, downtown Memphis. CJ Hurt right there producing the program. Glad he's with me. Glad you're with me. Hope you're getting through the day best you can. And I hope you like stars being stars, because that's what we got last night. Game 1 Western Conference Finals, at least on the Dallas side of things. Incredible game. Mavericks are up 1-0. That means Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving are just 3 more wins away from a trip to the 2024 NBA Finals. We'll talk about it momentarily. First, though, quickly, let me set today's schedule for you. In the next segment, about 20 minutes, Drew Hill is scheduled to join me here in studio. He, of course, covers the Grizzlies for the Daily Memphian, dailymemphian.com. The weather is awful, so I wouldn't even blame Drew Hill if he just said, hey, can we do this on Zoom or something? I'd completely understand, but I'm under the impression he's going to be here.
I talked to him.
In studio. Here. God bless him. He's a better man than I am. I didn't want to come here this morning, drive and do this stuff. Drew Hill's going to be here in about 20 minutes. When I finish talking to Drew, take a break, come back, do 5 more things you need to know, at which point we're going to discuss 5 previously undiscussed stories. Graceland is no longer going to go up for auction today, and now the FBI is investigating a fraud claim, and we have a person of interest. Let's go. Get you caught up on this weird story. We'll do that in about 40 minutes. You know what house might end up on auction? Antonio Brown's house. Former NFL All-Pro. Kind of cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. He has filed bankruptcy. He says he only has less than $50,000 in assets. That's not encouraging news, at least for Antonio Brown. I'll tell you more about that in just a bit. We have a new Dear Jane to discuss. This one involves a dying mother. That's sad. Dying mother. And a house that her children sold without telling her. And it has led to an uncomfortable situation in the final days of this woman's life. I'll tell you the whole story, then we'll talk through it. We're going to do that in the third segment. It was announced this morning that Toronto is getting a brand new WNBA franchise. It sounds dangerous to me. I don't know if you've been following the news, but this seems dangerous to me. I'll tell you why. We'll do that in just a bit. And a former McDonald's corporate chef He's gone viral now. He says that in his opinion, McDonald's is intentionally making some of the menu items terrible to encourage customers to buy the more expensive menu items. It's a conspiracy involving McDonald's. I'll ask CJ if he believes it. We're going to do that during a segment we call 5 More Things You Need to Know. Then we'll eventually do GP's Carryout, and we'll call it a day. So that's the rundown. We got a lot to get to, but I did want to start with the 2024 NBA playoffs, because after last night's Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals, we are now 33 full days into the 2024 NBA playoffs. Seems like it was just yesterday, but we've been doing this for a while now. Day 33, it provided us with Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals, and it was a good one. Final score, Dallas 108, Minnesota 105. Incredible game. Neither team ever led by double digits. It was a 1-point game heading into the fourth quarter, and then Dallas, as a 4.5-point underdog on the road, they outscored Minnesota 26-22 in the fourth quarter. They win the game by 3. Luka Doncic took 26 shots. He made 12 of them, finished with 33 points, 8 assists, 6 rebounds. Kyrie Irving, he took 23 shots. He made 12 of them, finished with 30 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. So the two Dallas stars were stars. And Kyrie Irving, as they say, he took that personally. Were you up late enough last night to see his post-game interview?
No, I didn't. Okay. I missed the post-game.
So he was on. He joined the Inside the NBA crew, which was Ernie Johnson and Charles Barkley, Kenny Smith, Shaq, and Draymond Green was there as well. And they asked him about Anthony Edwards, saying to them after a Game 7 victory in Denver, like, my assignment is going to be Kyrie Irving. And seemed pretty excited about that. And Kyrie acknowledged, because most times players, they'll say things like, I'm not worried about that, or I didn't even hear that, or I didn't even see it. They play pretend for whatever reason. And Kyrie was just the opposite, which I appreciated and respected. He said, I was at home. I was watching the game. I heard him say that. And I was like, okay, let's go then. And seemed to take it personally, acknowledged that he maybe not took it personally in a negative way, but it piqued his ears up a little bit. It made him pay attention. Okay, we're going to go do this then. Let's go do it. And undeniably last night, if you watched the game or if you just listened to the box score I just read, you know that Kyrie Irving got the better of him last night. Anthony Edwards now has gotten a lot of attention in these playoffs. These past 2 games, he has not played well, either Game 7 against Denver or Game 1 against Dallas. Said he came out flat, said he was tired. I did hear yesterday afternoon that in situations, Game 1s of playoff series, where one of the teams previously just played a Game 7 and the other one didn't, it's overwhelmingly in favor of the team that didn't play in a Game 7. Obviously, Dallas, had a little more rest than Minnesota did. And Anthony Edwards, at least, suggested that was an issue last night, even if the TNT crew mostly said, it shouldn't have been that much of an issue.
I don't think it's that much of an issue. It's not like these are the only 2 games of the playoffs where Anthony Edwards has had a fine performance, right? Not a superstar performance, not a performance where he's carrying his team through, but just you read the box score, 16 points. He probably got a couple of steals, a couple of deflections. He did that in Game 3 of the last series against the Nuggets, and then Game 4 he came out on a tear. They lost both those games, but he did a Game 3, and I think it was a pretty ho-hum, if I can remember correctly. It feels like years ago, thinking about the first round of the playoffs, but if I remember correctly, against the Suns, it was kind of just average. Well, it wasn't standout moments.
He had some big moments against Kevin Durant, and they went viral, and that sort of led
the moments went viral, but the overall game
he was good, but perhaps it was overstated a bit.
Okay.
He has really had a star turn in this postseason, but he was not the best player on the court last night. He wasn't even one of the 2 best players on the court last night, because the 2 best players on the court last night both had Dallas uniforms on.
Is he one of the 2 best players in this series? Because if you ask me, okay, who's the best team in this series? I would say overwhelming Minnesota. Minnesota's a better team, it feels like, than the Mavericks. But if you ask me who has the 2 best players, I would say Luka and Kyrie in this series are the 2 best players on the court. I'm not sure if the Timberwolves will need somebody's got to be one of the best players on the court for them to have a chance in this series. I'm not sure it has to be Anthony Edwards every single game.
Right. I guess reasonable minds could debate if we're going to rank Kyrie, Luka, Anthony Edwards in some order.
Anthony Towns,
you could put them in some orders. I think most people might lean your direction with Kyrie and Luka. Luka 1, Kyrie 2. Undeniably, though, last night it was clear. Those two were great, and the Minnesota side of things wasn't so much. Luka Doncic, and this is starting to get the attention now, is just 3 wins away, and Dallas is now the favorite to win the series. They're up 1-0, and they have home court advantage now. So Dallas is now the favorite to win the series at minus 164. This is according to FanDuel. Minnesota is now plus 138, and it means Luka Doncic is now expected to advance to the NBA Finals at the age of 25. If you keep track of all-time great stuff, you might know Michael Jordan never made the NBA Finals till he was 28 years old. That gets lost in sort of the Michael Jordan story, that he didn't – think about how often people are like, when's this guy going to do it? When's this guy going to do it? Michael Jordan did not get to the NBA Finals till 28. Now, once he got there, he won 3 in a row. And then he took some time off, and then he won 3 in a row. And he never lost in the finals. Everybody knows that. But he didn't get there to 28.
I snapped the consciousness the second championship that they win.
Right.
B.J. Armstrong, Jordan Pippen, that team is when I snapped the sports consciousness. Right. Was there that conversation around Michael Jordan, mid-'80s, late 80s, like, hey, he's putting up a bunch of stats, it feels empty, can you win with Mike?
I don't have a proper memory of it all. I lived through it. I remember it, but this wasn't a time where we were consuming podcasts and people were breaking it down on TV 24 hours a day.
Was that not a conversation in newspapers?
I don't remember, but I the way I remember it is everybody understood Michael Jordan is special. Everybody understood Michael Jordan is great. The question was, when can he get through this thing? And this thing at the time was the Detroit Pistons. Mm-hmm. They just might be too big and bad for him. And eventually it pops. But I think everybody saw it coming. And I don't know that he was under the scrutiny for having not got there all the way to 28 the way a similar player would be today. Yeah. If Anthony Edwards is 28 years old and still hasn't been in an NBA Finals, that will be used against him. Yeah. I don't know if it was that intense, if only because I don't know that our world was that intense. Gotcha. Social media didn't exist. I don't even think it was possible to be that intense in the early 90s, late 80s, as you can be right now. But facts are facts. Michael Jordan didn't get to the NBA Finals until he's 28. Luka Doncic is now just 3 wins away from getting there at the age of 25 and getting there with a team that not a lot of people thought had this possibility in their future. I did see Tim Legler talking on ESPN, and he wasn't patting himself on the back. Somebody else brought it up, I think Mike Greenberg, and was just like, hey, I remember a conversation with you back in February and said, keep your eye on Dallas. This is starting to click. And after the trade deadline, it has been clicking, and it's obviously clicking right now. By the way, LeBron James, because every conversation that has Michael Jordan in it's got to have LeBron James in it. He got to the NBA Finals at the age of 22. Didn't win one until a little later. But he got there at the age of 22. And then people did start saying that about LeBron. LeBron had to live through it. When's he going to get there? When's he going to get there? When's he going to win one? When's he going to win the whole thing? And that in some ways was the thing that drove him to Miami. All these people are going to keep saying, I can't win a championship. Well, I'm going to go get a couple with my friends. Kevin Durant, I think that's among the reasons he ended up in Golden State. Yeah. He got tired of people saying, when are you going to do it? All right, I'll go do it. So when I do it, you'll shut up. Except he did it, and we didn't shut up. And
no, because he cheated, Gary.
Right.
He cheated. He went to a good team.
People still say, win a real ring.
Yes.
Win a real ring. So I do think that is pressure that people deal with today. And Luka Doncic could get to the place we all assumed he'd get someday. A little quicker, and certainly under different circumstances than we imagined. He's 3 wins away from that. Just some other stuff in the NBA. It was I don't know if it was weird, but obviously last night, Game 1, Western Conference Finals, all the games Western Conference Finals, they're going to be on TNT. And a few hours before it tipped off, we got finally confirmation that the NBA has agreed to a new media rights deal with ESPN, ABC, NBC, and Amazon, which means TNT is not going to be in the NBA business after next season, which means inside the NBA, the future is very much up in the air. And honestly, the future of it is perhaps in real doubt, because they're not going to keep, I don't think, doing that show on TNT if they don't have basketball games to build that around. That's what those shows are for. Everybody, that's the one studio show. It's widely regarded as the best sports studio show of all time. That's the way people describe it. Certainly people in our industry. Yeah. And, but it's maybe the one show, like maybe the one that people will watch even if they don't watch the games. I can't tell you how many times there's been a doubleheader on TNT, West Coast game. I don't care anything about it. It's a blowout. I should just change the channel or go to sleep. But I'll say, I'm going to stay up to see what Charles and Kenny and Ernie and Shaq say. Like, I will watch that show even if I don't watch the games. But most studio shows aren't like that. They're just things to get you ready for a game. They're just halftimes. They're just things to wrap up the game. But this is a real destination show. And it was sort of sad watching this yesterday because if they didn't say it directly, they hinted at it, that they knew the end. And these guys have known this was coming, but it becomes official. And it was kind of sad. You could see there was a hint of sadness on that set. At least I picked up on it. And the reason is because, like, Charles Barkley is going to talk about the NBA on TV somewhere. He just is. Yeah. He's too awesome at just being a presence on television. So he will continue to be in some form. But Ernie Johnson has said that he's not leaving TNT. He's not leaving Turner. He lives there. He does other stuff for them, baseball, golf. He could do anything. You put him in a studio, he can do anything. He's best known for this, but he can host any studio show. Or he's already said, I'm not leaving TNT. Now, I imagine there's a scenario where somebody could say, you don't have to leave TNT. Just still come do this show over here. But, it seems possible, if not likely, that inside the NBA as we know it has one more year and then it'll be over. And that's kind of sad. You don't strike me as the type that gets all sad about television shows, but you enjoy inside the NBA, don't you?
No.
You don't enjoy it at all?
No, but listen, I'm a different cat. What you enjoy is what you enjoy. Millions of people, like you said, think that's the greatest studio show ever. And it's entertaining, it is fun, and it's funny. And that's what sports, the essence of sports, the reason I love sports is because it's supposed to be fun and funny. We get bogged down into like stats and GOAT debates and all this other like perceived slights here and there. And that's fine and well and good, but that bogs it down in a way that takes away from the fun. And this show, while it can do some of that, it keeps the fun at the front of it. It's a very fun show, and I think that's what what resonates with people.
They figured out a way where we're not going to sit up here and try to act like we're the smartest people in the room. Yeah. We're just going to sit up here and have a good time.
Shoot the bleep and talk about sports, man.
And like I could build an NBA show in 30 minutes and put people in a studio, and they would talk about the NBA so much more intelligently and with data and with real, but it wouldn't be anywhere near as good.
No,
because like even when they're announcing the All NBA teams last night, like Charles Barkley can't even say Giannis Antetokounmpo. Like they're just mispronouncing names and getting stuff wrong, and nobody cares because it's funny.
Yeah.
So they've really like tapped into that, and there's a real chance that's going to be over. Like the chemistry on that set.
Yeah.
It's not just inside the NBA; it's the people working there. And Ernie is. I don't know if he's the biggest part of it because I think most people would say Charles is the biggest. Like if you could only have one of them, you need Charles. But Ernie's a big part of that.
He's the ringleader. He keeps it going and keeps everything flowing in a nice, neat way. Yeah.
Brilliant at knowing when to let those guys go and knowing when to pull them back in. As somebody who works in these studio shows for a different network, I can just tell you that those things are very structured and very to the minute, to the second sometimes. And they don't really want us at CBS Sports Network getting too... Like if we go 30 seconds off script, there is somebody in our ear saying, moving on. Like we got to go. Yeah. Like this is not what we're doing. Hey, that was funny, but like, let's get back to what we're doing. We got to get to break. It's all that. And Ernie, I've worked with those guys too. And it's interesting. Like there's so much more space allowed to them for them, and they can use it however they want. So when they get off, and it's every episode, when they get off track, nobody is saying, moving on, unless it becomes clear it's time to move on. This is not working anymore. But they leave that space for just random funny things to happen, and it just happens over and over again. It's like almost like a comedian doing crowd work.
Yeah.
Like you don't have these jokes ready, but you can get them, and something funny is going to happen. They're the best at doing that, and Ernie's a big part of that. And I don't think that show would be the same without him. My prediction is that Charles Barkley will be talking on TV somewhere about the NBA, and now it may be Amazon, it could be NBC. Honestly, if I were ESPN, I'd throw everything at him.
Yeah.
And I'd just have him over there. And if you don't bring Shaq, can't you put Kendrick Perkins right there? Like Kendrick Perkins would fit in well, it seems like, with that crew. I think Ernie is incredibly important to that. But let's just say he was ready to retire or just doesn't want to do it anymore, doesn't want to do it at ESPN. Malika Andrews could host that. Everybody likes her. I just feel like as long as you've got Charles, you've got what you need. And if I were ESPN, I'd try to make sure I get him. But either way, you want some semblance of that show to still exist. And it would be not so great if Ernie wasn't a part of it, because like I said, he really, and this is like, I've worked with all these guys, and not a lot. We're not best friends. I'm not going to text Shaquille O'Neal right now, but having worked with them, I can tell you they're all exactly as they seem.
Yeah.
There ain't like, well, when you're around them, when you're around them, they're really talking shit to each other and like wrestling and goofing around, and they're exactly as they seem. And Ernie is like the best of the best. I went down there for Selection Sunday. We were doing a 2-location, 2-hour selection show on CBS a long time ago. And half of it was going to be done in New York and half of it was going to be done in Atlanta. And Ernie and Charles and Shaq were going to be in Atlanta. I think Kenny's mom was sick at the time. There's something where Kenny wasn't there and they wanted to bring in a college basketball person just to sort of supplement their lack of knowledge of college basketball. Yeah. Like they could be them, and then I could like really give you some points per possession on Wichita State type stuff. So I go down there to work with them, and at that time I don't think I'd ever met any of them. And I just remember how out of their way they went to make me feel like I was a part of it. Even like building the goofy graphics with a picture of me and like on a farm like they do for Charles. Like they wanted me to feel like I was a part of it. And I'll never forget it. I just thought this was the nicest thing. And it's something I would not have done if I were Ernie Johnson, because it's not my personality. Like Bennett can tell you, I walk in here every morning, I sit down and I'm focused on me. I don't have time for you or anybody else. Like I'm trying to get this ready exactly where I want it. And so I don't take a lot of time to chit chat, as I'm getting ready for something. And I just remember Ernie Johnson, this like legend. And I was, this was probably more than 10, 12 years ago. So I was younger and still a little wide-eyed, particularly on this moment. And I just remember Ernie like at one point tapping me on the shoulder. I'm just trying to keep to myself. And he's like, hey, come back here for a second. And I'm like, okay. And he takes me to his office and just sits down and says, so how you feeling? And just wanted to talk to me.
Nice.
And so remind me where you live. And so tell me what you think about this. And he was just trying to make me feel comfortable, like I mattered. And that meant the world to me. And now I've worked with him maybe a few times since then. And like I watch him on TV every night. So when I see him, it's very familiar. I feel like I know Ernie Johnson. I'm not assuming he's watching me on TV every night. All right. But I tell you, I just saw him at the Final Four. Every time I see him, he'll stop to say hello. And just to make you, and I want to be very clear about this. Everybody has this same Ernie Johnson story who's ever been in the presence of Ernie Johnson. He is the best of the best, and he treats everybody exactly the way I just explained that story. And that's why all those guys, like Shaq and Kenny will go at each other, and Kenny and Charles will go at each other, and Shaq and Charles will go at each other. You've never heard any of those guys even make a joke about Ernie Johnson.
No.
They respect him that much. They love him that much. So hopefully, if he wants to, there's a way to. I'd just like to look up in 2 years and that show still exists in some form with Ernie as the host and Charles at that desk, and we can figure out the rest of it. But all indications are that seems unlikely at this point. So that's not so great. If it won't make you cry at night, it'll make somebody. It'll make somebody. I'll ask Drew Hill what he thinks about all this nonsense. We'll do that next.
I will take High School Musical with my fifth and final pick because it is a sports movie. You do got to get your head in the game. I love High School Musical. I love musicals. Sports and musicals can coexist in this beautiful world. What a beautiful, beautiful movie. Even though High School Musical 1 is not even the best of the High School Musicals.
Tune in to the Jessica Benson Show with CJ Hurt live every weekday at 8 a.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Grizzlies fans know it's the team that gives you the edge. Big River Steel does too. And much like the Grizzlies have recruited legendary talent, we want you to be part of our team. Are you ready to be part of something legendary? Then visit www.bigriversteel.com. That's www.bigriversteel.com.
When it's all on the line, you turn to the strong, the stable, the unwavering. To those with a history of raising their performance to meet the moment. It's true in basketball. It's true in banking. Grizzlies Checking from Pinnacle. Play hard. Bank easy. Open a Grizzlies checking account with at least $100 and a recurring direct deposit by August 31st. And you could receive a $200 direct deposit bonus into your account. Details at grizzliesbanking.com. Member FDIC. Justin Timberlake.
I'm bringing sexy back.
The Forget Tomorrow World Tour. Live in Memphis. Justin Timberlake. FedEx Forum, Saturday, November 23rd. Get tickets now at livenation.com. The brand new single Selfish is available to stream and download now.
So if I get jealous, I can't help it.
For more, hit up justintimberlake.com.
Welcome back. Gary Parrish Show, presented by Ortho South. We're inside the Bill Ford Tough Studio. And guess who else is inside the Bill Ford Tough Studio? It's Drew Hill from the Daily Memphian. First, thank you for getting out in this weather. I tell you, if I woke up and I didn't absolutely have to be somewhere, I don't think I'd walk outside today.
It's wet out there.
Buddy.
Yeah, but
there are people on the interstate pulled over, like can't see. It was rough.
I got down here with a little bit of weather.
Mhm.
I mean, it rained.
Right.
I texted CJ. I was like, I got to get in the garage because
Yes.
I'm not walking outside through
No.
this stuff. But no, it was easy for me.
All right.
Down
Well,
here.
it was easy for me too. I don't want to overstate it. Like I got to work fine, but there were like cars pulled over on the
Well,
interstate.
stay safe.
It had reached that level of intense rain. Like I can't really see so well. People driving with their flashers on the interstate. That's what I was dealing with this morning. Hey, so this is interesting. We're in the middle of the off season for the Grizzlies. NBA playoffs continue, and we had the exit meetings, and it seemed obvious that Taylor Jenkins is coming back for another season, and I thought we had settled all that, and now I gather I'm supposed to be talking about whether Taylor Jenkins is on the hot seat or not. What's happening?
Well, I think what happened was John Hollinger, who works for The Athletic,
Sure.
he was
And used to work here.
at the Combine, and I was with Hollinger at the Combine and spent a lot of time there. And there's obviously a lot of executives. There's people walking around everywhere. It's like a big NBA convention. I'm sure it's similar to the Final Four
Yes.
for you.
Right.
So, there people talk there. And Hollinger did a piece that reflected chatter at the Combine. And among that chatter was because the Grizzlies are making assistant coaching changes, perhaps Taylor Jenkins could be on the hot seat. Well, there are some fans that I think believe Taylor Jenkins should be on the hot seat here. I mean, it's online. I don't think online really reflects the greater fan base.
I tell you this, in my day-to-day, like I'm at my kid's baseball practice or I'm at the Mexican restaurant, that's really the only two places I go. Nobody ever asked me about Taylor Jenkins.
No.
They always want to ask me about Ja, want to ask me about who they're going to take with the 9th pick. Nobody ever in real life, nobody seems that upset about Taylor Jenkins.
No.
Not in my life. At
No,
least.
not to me either.
Right.
So anyway, now, I had a little bit of reporting about, yes, they are going to make coaching changes. I do think that some philosophical changes are coming this year, offensively, defensively, with the team. And then in terms of Taylor Jenkins being on the quote-unquote hot seat, I think it just, first of all, depends on how you want to categorize what a hot seat is. I don't get the sense at all from anyone that I have spoken to that those in charge of the Memphis Grizzlies are dissatisfied with the job that Taylor Jenkins has done. He didn't win a lot of games last year. He didn't have any players available.
Nobody
would
have won a lot of games last season.
No one wins.
If you want to start a stupid argument about somebody could have won 3 more games, then have that amongst yourselves. Nobody was winning with that roster last season.
So, to me right now, when I think about somebody that's on the hot seat, I'm thinking about somebody who maybe has their faith in the front office has been shaken that this guy is a good enough coach to help the team win a championship. Mm-hmm. I don't get that sense with the Grizzlies right now. I think they think Taylor Jenkins has done a good job overall with the team since he arrived here. Now, if you want to talk about the nature of NBA coaching,
well, that's the thing.
This
everybody except Eric Spoelstra and Greg Popovich is on the hot seat because, and this is what I wanted to touch on, the nature of NBA coaching. Outside of like 3 or 4 guys, if you have real expectations connected to your team and it does not go well for reasons that can't be chalked up to injuries or suspensions, you're going to get got. So
that is the case for every single coach
right.
that's coaching a playoff team. Taylor Jenkins is no more on the hot seat than any other NBA coach that is coaching a team that's supposed to be in the playoffs.
That's right.
If any of those teams, if Minnesota starts out and it's let's say they lose the series and it's completely disastrous to start the year next year, Coach Finch could get fired.
That's right.
He could get fired.
That's right.
Like anybody could get fired if they get off to a disastrous start.
That's right.
The Bucks fired their coach. Right. Weren't they second in the East? And just like, no, we don't like where this is going. You're gone.
They
like
just,
half a season.
That one was, if you just did nothing but look at the record, you'd be like, what are they doing? But if you talk to the people around that organization, they were like, we just made we hired the wrong guy. They reached the point where they just said, we've hired the wrong guy, and we know that. It's time to, rather than waste a year of Giannis and Dame, which they ended up doing anyway, but we're going to try to fix this now, mid-season. We don't know if it'll work. But they just, I've seen this in my own career. I'm not in the business of hiring and firing. I'm an employee. But I've worked at places where they make a hire and they bring somebody in, and within 2 weeks, I'm like, this is a bad hire. They knew this. That's what happened there.
Well, yeah. And you know what? Like, again, just to reiterate, I don't think that Taylor Jenkins is any more on the hot seat than any other coach that has playoff expectations next year. And I do think, from the people I've spoken to, that the overall consensus here is that they believe Taylor Jenkins has done a good job with this team. It also should be noted that the players have spoken very highly of Taylor Jenkins, particularly Jaren. Also, Ja, if you remember the game where Jenkins ran out onto the court, both of them said kind of that's our guy. I think that's an important part and piece to this as well.
I do too. And it's not just that they say we like Coach or we appreciate Coach or Coach is great. They say more than they have to. They might have to say that when it's put right in front of them and there's a microphone, but they tend to say more than they need to. Like if somebody were to ask me about somebody I work with who, they're nice enough, but I don't think they're that great. And they go, so what do you think of so-and-so? I'd be like, oh, he's great. And I just leave it right there. But they always say more. And that does mean something to me.
Yes. No, and so, there's also the conversation of like, I think, again, online is not real life.
Right.
But there's this idea that maybe some people in the media may be defending Taylor Jenkins or whatever that might be. That's not the case with me. Right. I don't have an agenda here. Like, we want to talk about your top 25 and 1 and why Alabama basketball isn't number 1.
Get Mark Sears back in school and I'll get you close.
I have an agenda with that.
Right.
But with the Grizzlies coaching staff, no.
Is that a thing?
No agenda.
That's
here.
a thing. That people think you are defending Taylor Jenkins?
Apparently some people do, but the truth is like, look, Taylor's fine and it's great, but You know
what?
interviewing Pop is a lot different experience than interviewing Taylor
It's
Jenkins.
funny because I have experience being a beat writer, and my experience of being a beat writer was, and this is maybe just my story, it might not be yours. People assume so much about your relationships and about your agendas, and it's never as complicated as anybody wants to make it out to be. I could go on a message board back in those days and see posts that would say both of these things, sometimes in the same thread. Oh, Gary Parrish is best friends with John Calipari. That's why he writes this or says this. Same thread sometimes. Well, Gary and John hate each other, and that's why he said this. You want to know the truth? Here's the forever truth about me and John Calipari. The people who thought we were really close, we were never as close as they thought we were. And the people who thought we hated each other, we never hated each other as much as people thought we hated each other. We had moments where we
That's part of the job. Though.
That's part of the job.
Yeah.
If you don't have real fights with the people you're covering, sometimes you're not doing your job aggressively enough. I don't mean you. I just mean you're going to bump heads sometimes. It's impossible not to. But we were never as close as some people thought, and never as on opposite ends of the spectrum as most people thought. The truth was always right here, and I imagine that's true with you and most people.
I would agree
Right.
with that. I mean, and it was the same back when I covered the Tigers as well.
Right.
Like, I remember those moments. There were definitely some challenges, but, I think that's part of why people that do the job well do it so well, and I admire the people that do it really well, like you obviously did to get where you are now, is because you're willing to cross the line sometimes, and sometimes you have to cross the line.
Right, but it's just circling back to and I try my best to ignore it. I used to struggle with it more than I do now. Now I'm just I don't have the energy for it. But I saw one the other day. We were on the Ion College basketball podcast. There was a comment somewhere, and the comment was something. Gary Parrish, the reason he doesn't have Kentucky ranked right now is because I heard he and Mark Pope haven't gotten along for years. All right, that's the comment. That's what somebody's putting out in the world. That I have this long-standing.
Have you known Mark
I don't
Pope?
even know if I've ever had a conversation with Mark Pope. That's the honest to God truth. We know each other, and if we see each other, it's what's up? And I find him to be a pleasant man. Everything I know about him, I don't think I've ever talked to him for more than, hey, what's up? Good to see you. How you been? 30 seconds. Yeah. Nothing. But there's this world where people think the reason I'm not ranking Kentucky is because me and Mark Pope don't get along, and I'm like. That's like saying me and Tom Cruise don't get along. I don't. We don't.
Do you guys?
Me and Tom Cruise?
Yes.
We get along fine.
Okay.
I don't agree with everything.
They don't hate each other as much as you think they do.
Yeah, I ain't really comfortable with the Scientology stuff, but I let him do his thing. I try not to get involved. But just people are wild. The assumptions they make about you.
People think they know you. I was at the pool. This is a true story. I can't believe I'm going to say this. This is a true story. I was at the pool this weekend, and there was this guy there. I was there with my wife, and we were hanging out, and my wife was getting frustrated because this dude was talking my ear off at the pool.
Right.
But it was perfectly fine conversation.
But
I'm not talking bad about this guy. It was a good conversation.
But we've all been in that situation where you're spending time with your wife or your girlfriend, whoever you're spending time with, and they're always nice. They just really want to tell you how much they appreciate your work. But then it's now you've been talking to a stranger for 7 minutes and your wife's looking at you what are we doing?
It was one of those situations.
I got you. So I've been there.
So then we have this whole conversation. He's talking to me, and he's he's got some hot takes. I think they should have traded Ja. I think whatever. I'm like, oh, okay. And then at the end, he asked me. He said, "Wait, so I've heard you on the radio. Do you know Gary Parrish?"
Oh, here we go.
And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "I like Gary, but I just don't like his politics."
Okay.
Whatever. And he starts going off all over again. I was like, all right, come on, Jess, we got to go. We got to go make dinner. Sorry, I'll see you later.
I will still get that all the time, and I'll say, what exactly is the thing I said that bothered you so much? And the conversation almost always stops right there. There's this, I'm not mysterious about my political views. I lean left. I would never vote for Donald Trump, but I do know people who will, and this is the country we live in, and I don't hide from any of these things. But people get so caught up on that, I'm out there, flying flags and stuff. I'm not doing any of it. It's just, but I'll run into that, and I'll ask.
I told him, I said, Gary's a great guy.
Yeah, you don't need it. Like I don't need that, but I'm not even sure that part's true. But I'm always like, what did I say that bothered you so much? And they're like, well, that one time. No, keep going. Just tell me, and then let's talk about it. What was the wild thing that I said?
Yeah.
What was the wildest thing you ever heard me say?
But we shouldn't get off too far from the point, which is like, I know you.
Right.
I like to think I know you.
Right.
We're not best friends or anything. We're not hanging out when we leave here. But like, most people that think they might know you, they really don't know where your allegiance is.
No. If you think and I would say this is true for most people. Like this, everything I'm doing is authentic, maybe exaggerated sometimes, but authentic. I don't say things just to say them. I don't say things just to, this is the one you used to always get. Well, this sort of falls in line with the other thing. Well, the reason he says that is so he'll get phone calls. And I'm like, I don't take phone calls. Never, very rarely in 13 years at 92.9. Took phone calls less than 20 times. But people would still say that. Oh, you're just trying to get phone calls. Why? I don't want phone calls. I don't want to talk to you people. I just want to talk to Bennett. I don't need the rest of you. So
you've never done phone calls here, right?
No, I wouldn't.
Where's the phone, Drew?
I just was wondering if you had that capability.
I'm sure if I wanted to take phone calls, we could. I'm just not interested in it. My point is, I was never interested in it. I never found it to be enjoyable or interesting. I mean, other people can do it. I don't care. But I never personally found that enjoyable. But there were people out there saying that I was doing things just to do something that I never did. Internet's wild. The internet is wild. So back to Taylor Jenkins. Is this true? Because I think this is true. He's not on the hot seat in the sense of they're trying to figure out right. There's no conversation in this building today, people trying to figure out the future of Taylor Jenkins. Every conversation is, we feel like we got a roster that's ready to compete next season, and as long as we stay healthy, we will. But there is real pressure for this to go well next season.
Of course.
I can't imagine a scenario where things get off to a bad start just because sometimes they do, and then we got to have these conversations. Because I think there's real pressure on next season to be good, unless injuries blow the whole thing up again. But if they are healthy and it doesn't go well, well, then everybody is going to be in an uncomfortable situation. But the idea that we're talking about that on May 23rd seems like a waste of energy.
We're 5 weeks from the draft.
Right.
We're 5 weeks from the draft. We have ages until the draft. And yes, I think you described that pretty well. They're not. I don't think they're discussing whether or not Taylor Jenkins is their guy right now.
Right.
I don't have any doubt, in fact, that is for sure not happening. They are comfortable with Taylor Jenkins being their coach as of this moment. But there is pressure. If it goes really poorly this year, which I don't think it's going to, I think this is a 50-win team. I just think they have that amount of talent. But if it does go really poorly, of course the pressure turns up. But as we said, pressure is on every NBA coach. Right. So that doesn't make him on the hot seat or any more than any other coach that has any pressure. Now, if you get through the playoffs and you get through this entire season and you're dissatisfied with maybe the way that the team was managed throughout the playoffs, I think that's a different question. But we're in May before the next season. Can you say, oh, he got fired because he was on the hot seat in May of the offseason? No, you can't say that. So
maybe we can connect this to the big headline this morning. Cleveland has dismissed J.B. Bickerstaff.
Yeah.
In Cleveland, tell me if you guys think this is right. In Memphis, nobody is looking for a reason to fire Taylor Jenkins. You're hoping you never get to a point where you need to. In Cleveland, they were quite literally looking for reasons to fire him. They wanted to do this, so they did it. In Memphis, the approach is nobody is trying to fire Taylor Jenkins here. They're trying to keep him forever. In Cleveland, that got to a point. I mean, that guy was in the Eastern Conference semifinals, and they still got him because they wanted to. J.B. Bickerstaff's the one who needed to be worried heading into this offseason, not Taylor Jenkins.
I think that's a good analogy right there. That is perfect analysis, but I think you're right. We should also note, Mike Malone's job wasn't necessarily secure before Denver went and won the championship. And, Finch in Minnesota, job not secure until maybe now. Now he's got to feel a lot better about where he stands going into next season.
But let Mike Malone and Denver get off to some weird start, and people start talking about that next season.
100%.
Yeah, they'll be like, well, he lost a Game 7 at home, and then followed that up, and now they're, 7 and 24. That's not going to happen. But you get then they'll start having those conversations. I guess we could circle back to our initial point. There's maybe 5 of the 30 coaches who could survive terrible seasons that aren't directly tied to injuries or suspensions. And Taylor Jenkins is not one of those 5, but nobody, almost nobody is.
They're not looking for a reason to get rid of him the way Milwaukee maybe was at the beginning of this season, as you pointed out, or Cleveland, as you pointed out.
That's the thing about coaching in the NBA, and it feels like it might be more so in the NBA than other sports where, like, winning might not be enough, where the fit, like you brought up, Gary, the decision with the Bucks to move on was, we hired the wrong guy.
Person.
Let's move. And that realization comes quick in the NBA. Right. Well, who got let go in Phoenix?
Frank Vogel.
Vogel got let go in Phoenix.
But
you can get to the playoffs, you can win games. And
you look at the Phoenix situation and you go, okay, this didn't go the way it should have gone. Why? And I don't know that it's Frank Vogel's fault, but it ain't because Kevin Durant was suspended for 25 games or because the whole roster was injured. Something wasn't right. The easiest thing to do is replace the coach. That's what they do. In Milwaukee, they go, this thing's not going the way we thought it was going to go. What's the problem? Well, it's not because Dame's hurt. It's not because Giannis is hurt. It's not because anybody's suspended. Well, the easiest thing to do is let's change the coach. In Memphis, this didn't go the way we wanted it to go. But very few people will go, I don't know why. It's obvious why. Ja was suspended, then hurt, and that's that.
I think the one counterpoint you would hear to that is that they started really slowly, even when they had some players available that did not include Ja.
I think that's a fair criticism. Like, should they have been better? But it's all marginal. It's all marginal. It's not like they should have been a playoff team, a projected playoff team without Ja Morant for 25 games. It's like, I forget how many they won without Ja. I know it wasn't a lot, but like,
I think it was 6 or 7.
Okay, games, then what should it have been? 10 or 11? 11 or 12? It's marginal. It's marginal.
And it was a tough schedule if you go back and look. I mean, the teams that they played were really good over that stretch too, and a lot of guys weren't healthy. And then obviously in January, it was like, okay, it's time to pack it up. The season is over. And once you reach that point, none of it falls on Taylor Jenkins.
Yeah, I don't think so. So, all right, that's that. The Ringer has come out with a list. Top 25, 26 players. I think they stole the top 25 and won. 26 players under the age of 25.
They did. They stole the top 20. They stole it.
Those guys. Everybody still got Calkins over there playing Believe It or Not at 92.9.
Yeah, he is.
Nothing's mine. Ja Morant, tied for 10th. I know out of sight, out of mind, and I know people are a little just down on the entire situation. There's no scenario where there are at least 9 players under the age of 25 in this world better at basketball than Ja Morant.
No, I don't think so. Part of it is just because he's been hurt and he hasn't played basketball recently. The last time he was in a playoff series, he was scoring more than 30 points a game.
Right.
Ja is one of those special players. He is a true superstar. He should be higher on the list. Where was Jaren again? Because I think I thought that when I looked at it this morning, that was the one I took issue with. It was like Alperen Şengün's above Jaren Jackson.
I don't get caught up in the like, they're trying to disrespect us or small market or none of that. I just will say objectively, I thought Desmond was too low. I thought Jaren was too low, and I thought Ja was way too low.
Yeah, and Dez is a little bit older. It's like these, and again, we don't know how they're forming these lists. It's the same conversation we're having with the stupid hot seat stuff.
Right.
It's like, well, how do you define hot seat? It's like, well, how do you define the best players here? Because the brighter future may be for younger players. Desmond Bane, among the players under 25 years old, is one of the older players.
That's right.
Is right there on that borderline.
So would you say, is the argument like, I don't think Jalen Green's as good as Desmond Bane, but he is X amount of years younger, and so I'd rather have that. Right, it's all subjective.
So how they formulated this list exactly, I don't know the answer to. But I did, like some of the bigs that were ahead of Jaren didn't make a ton of sense to me. Was Mobley ahead of Jaren on that list? I don't have it right in front of me, but I remember looking at it this morning.
He was in the same range.
Yeah.
And maybe ahead.
Like they are very similar players. I think Jaren's a little bit further along than Evan Mobley is at this point. I don't take huge issue to these things. I think it would be great if Ja used this as motivation. I love motivated Ja. Being around motivated Ja is definitely a fun thing to cover because you never know what he's going to say. He would probably tell you that he's stopped giving a crap about these lists, but I hope that deep down it's a fire.
I would assume that it has to be on some level. I mean, he has used stuff like this before, and I do think if you're sitting around, keep in mind this is a longer offseason than any of these guys have ever had, or at least it's a longer offseason than usual. Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming they're sitting at home watching these playoffs like the rest of us, and every once in a while, whether it's Charles and Kenny or Kendrick Perkins and Tim Legler, people get into conversations about the up-and-coming franchises and the up-and-coming players, and the Grizzlies are just not a part of that anymore. I think it's wrong. I think it's so obviously out of sight, out of mind. But just to not be talked about anymore, if you got any sort of pride, that has to register with you.
Speaking of lists, can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
How do you build your mock draft? Do you just try to figure out which college players are the best prospects and then rank them in order and not worry about team, or how do you
until the lottery is set? I take team considerations. I don't consider that at all because I just think it's all wasted energy. Like we don't even know who's picking where. But once the lottery order is set, then I do take that into account. Like if this player doesn't fit here for whatever reason, then I'm not going to put him there for that reason. But I make my own evaluations, but I rely heavily on other people I trust as well. So there are people who work in NBA front offices, scouts. I'll literally send them documents, and I don't say, "Hey, redo this for me," but I'm like, my first question always, "What's the dumbest thing you see on here? Tell me the dumbest thing you see. Tell me the three."
I just imagine this is an incredible challenge this year. Try to get. I mean,
because typically you can look at any of them and everybody's going to be like the guy I have going second could go ninth. I don't think he will, but he could. And you don't usually say that about a draft. Like it's when nobody ever asked me about Taylor Jenkins, but they will ask me about the draft. And the question is like, so who do you think the Grizzlies are going to take at 9? And my answer is, you got to tell me who's the first 8 people off the board.
And you got to tell me if they're picking at 9.
Yeah, they might not even pick at 9. But right. I think more so than certainly more so than most drafts, and maybe more so than any draft in recent memory. I know Alex Sarr is going to be gone by 9. I know.
I feel strongly about that. I feel strongly about Reed Sheppard being gone.
I think Reed Sheppard's probably gone. I think Zachary Ricochet is probably gone. But like, there's maybe only 3 or 4 guys that I could say they're definitely gone by 9.
Yeah.
Don Connect could be there or not be there. Stephon Castle could be there or not be there. Donovan Clingan could be there or not be there. Like, people always act like there's no way. Somebody falls to 9 every draft, and people thought there was no way they was going to be there. And I imagine that'll happen in this draft as well.
I can tell you and I did not mean to derail our top 25, but it just things just are coming to me while I sit here. That was a conversation that was being had among multiple people in the lottery room the minutes after they drew those ping pong balls.
Right.
Was, I think everybody realized, okay, Alex Sarr's probably going to go in the top 3.
Right.
I can't tell you another player that's going to go for certain in the top 10.
Right.
So it's just that's very interesting to me. The more that I've looked at it too, it's like Reed Sheppard kind of does so many things well. I think he just fits in every NBA team, and because he just fits in every NBA team at this point, I don't think he's going to get to the Grizzlies.
Right.
But you're somebody that watches these college players, I think, more than anyone. And like Stephon Castle is I did a little newsletter this morning on him. He's fascinating to me because I do think he could bring something to the Grizzlies right away and help right away, and that's the type of player that the Grizzlies would need. He also wants to be a point guard very clearly, and told that to me, to my face, is like, Ja's there, and this is my career now. I don't want to make those sacrifices anymore.
Yeah, I'm lower on him than others. I mean, I still like him, obviously, but wants to be a point guard, but has never been. Can't shoot, or at least is not a reliable shooter. That's just a bad place to start the conversation.
Especially for the Grizzlies.
I know he's
I know he's 6'5". He's got big body, long arms. He can guard his position, and he knows how to accept a role, and he was comfortable fitting in. And I love all that stuff. The intangibles I love. But I'm a point guard. I never seen you play it. And I see you miss shots a lot. Whereas Reed Shepherd, I'm higher on him than most because I've said this a million times at this point. I'm not comparing him to Steph Curry. But in the draft process, everything you're seeing Steph Curry do in the NBA his entire career that makes him an all-time great, he did this kind of stuff at Davidson. It's just you didn't think it would translate. He's too little or not really a lead guard or too skinny, just all these things. People couldn't see what was right in front of them, which is this young person is an amazing shot creator and an amazing shot maker, and he can make shots in a variety of ways that is wildly unusual. Reed Shepherd can do all that stuff.
What I like the most about him is that he plays with the level of control, and like you never see the heart rate go up.
No.
Never.
No.
The guy doesn't blink, and he came up in big moments for that team repeatedly, and I like that and adding that type of player to the Grizzlies backcourt because they could use another guard. I mean, everybody wants to look at the draft and say, this is how you're going to fix your big man problem. Right. It is definitely not that easy.
No.
And so I think there's a number of different directions that they could go, but I check your mock drafts often, so I was just curious how you...
I've got Reed Shepherd going second. Alex Sarr is the only player I would take ahead of him, period. And I might be wrong. Everybody's wrong about this stuff sometimes, but I'm just a believer in what I'm looking at. And I'm not going to get caught up on what I think he can't do, because you get caught up on thinking what somebody can't do, even though you're watching them do it. Well, that's how you miss on Steph Curry. You get caught up on, but is this going to... Well, with Reed Shepherd, he can play either guard spot. He's not as tall as you'd like, but he is a good athlete, 42-inch vertical, tested well at the combine. He can dribble, pass, shoot. He's a plus athlete. He can guard his position. Both parents were basketball players. That stuff matters. I'm just a real believer. And if he pops in the NBA, all the people who are skeptical, you'll hear him then go back on TV and say, well, I guess if we'd have just paid a little more attention, he did it all. He shot 50% from the field, 52% from three. Like, that's not normal.
That's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
And I think you can't underestimate, this is a little bit more intangible stuff, but to be the son of Jeff, I grew up in Kentucky, right?
Yes.
I know what basketball means to the state of Kentucky, and it means a ton.
Sure.
And there, it's different than here, right? You're Kentucky or you're Louisville, and they hate each other, and there's no in between. And the pressure on that kid to be the son of Jeff Shepherd and to be a kid from Kentucky who Cal wasn't recruiting anymore,
right?
Basically, and show up there and be outside of the top 70 and deliver and be that good, it's pretty impressive.
He was I don't know if he was their best player, but he was the National Freshman of the Year coming off of Kentucky's bench. Like, we will forever wonder why he was coming off Kentucky's bench, the same way we wonder why Devin Booker was coming off Kentucky's bench. It's nonsensical. And perhaps among the reasons Cal's now living in Fayetteville as opposed to Lexington. But if you told me right now I could snap my fingers and put Reed Shepherd on the Grizzlies, I'm thrilled. I don't listen, I'm high on Dalton Connect as well. I'm less high on Dillingham because he measured so poorly.
He doesn't fit on the Grizzlies.
Yeah, that's I talk about
one of the top 5.
I talk about believing what you see, and with Dillingham, it's just like little guard who can't guard his position. All right, that's what he is. Now he might
score though,
but he put
the ball in the basket.
But what the first things people say about him is that. Okay, well that's a problem. Little guard who can't guard his position at all is a problem. But the other stuff is all there. He's one of the more, I could see him going 3 or 13. He's got that type of range. But there will be somebody available at 9 that I believe in. Now, whether they believe in him similarly, we'll see. But it'll be a fun draft night. And I'm sure there'll be movement, and we'll figure it out by the time we get there. Last thing before I let you go, do you have a prospect you prefer? Like, of the ones that could reasonably fall to 9, is there somebody you think is either just you love him as a prospect or you love him the way he fits with what the Grizzlies have right now?
So I came up with a list. We recorded a podcast, me and Chris Harrington, with our top 8, and we threw Sarr out and came up with a list of 8. And he had Castle 1 and Shepherd 2. I had Shepherd in the top 3 as well. I do think that Donovan Clingan would be a pretty clean fit.
I think he would be good. I do.
And I think he does exactly this. Let's not forget, let's just not overthink this. You heard the front office or Zach, I don't remember if it was Zach or Taylor, one of the two during the season said that they were going to look for the Steven Adams archetype as a replacement. I think it might have been Taylor. And if you're looking for that, I don't know if you're going to find a more clean fit of any prospect, even on a given year, 2-3 years down the line, that fits as cleanly as Donovan Clingan fits into that.
Right.
He's a huge body. Stood next to him at the lottery. He's way bigger in person than I even thought he was on TV.
You don't think of it this way, but when you're standing in person, tell me if you find this to be true. There is and I know people are going to say, well, of course, you'll get the point. You hear about 7-footers. There's something different about 7'2". It just looks different.
100%. Because I stand next to Jaren all the time.
Right.
And my first thought when standing next to Clingan was, this man is bigger than Jaren.
That's right.
Which means he's gigantic.
Right.
Because Jaren is gigantic.
Right.
And so I just think he's a clean fit. I think he'll be able to pass a little bit. He will block shots. He will be able to set screens. This is the way we discussed it. If I told you could put Walker Kessler on the Grizzlies right now, you would probably put Walker Kessler on the Grizzlies right now to fix the front court problems. Clingan is basically a player that can do all the same things as Walker Kessler and maybe passes the ball a little bit more.
Right.
He's not going to step out and shoot. He's not going to be a high volume scorer for you. He's just going to be a screener, a roller, a lob threat, and he's going to block shots on the defensive end and hopefully get a lot of rebounds. Grizzlies have a history of drafting high efficiency bigs. You look back at Xavier Tillman, defensively was a super high efficiency big. Brandon Clark was a very high efficiency big. They're also rumored to be interested in Zach Edey. I do think that there's been some real conversations between those two sides. And so because of all that, I just think Clingan is a player that A, they would like, and B, is the cleanest fit that you could add to the roster. And then the opportunities open up for maybe, to try to shuffle the guards and the wings around in whichever way you would want, and then you'd have this clean fit there, as opposed to trying to make a trade and maybe having to give up players you don't want to give up in order to add a big because you decided to draft a wing or a guard.
I can tell you, you start asking questions, like the drop coverage and rim protection, we all see that. You start asking the UConn people, all right, what kind of guy is he? They love him. Work ethic, teammate, just everybody loved him there. The way he was comfortable just fitting in as a freshman, just the whole taking the process as it comes. Like the intangible stuff they're really high on him. So
I think positional size too is like a big thing for the Grizzlies in this draft. They don't have a ton of positional size, and when you look around, talk about positional size, Minnesota is great.
They're big everywhere,
size. Right? Boston's big everywhere. I think the Grizzlies could use a player that has more size. I mean, if they end up moving on later towards the back end of the first round, I do think Bobby Klintman has a good future ahead of him. I like what I see from him. I think the athleticism and positional size could help. I mean, Richeche is probably not going to be there for the Grizzlies, but I do think he would be a good fit too. He's tall, he's big. You would think he'll be able to defend. He can play make for the team. That's the type of player that I'm looking to add. I don't want something that's too repetitive like a Rob Dillingham.
Right.
And Reed Sheppard I just believe in as a player. So I'd be happy if they picked him. So I would give you those guys if I were to come up with a list. But I like Clingan a little bit more than I like Edey, and I think he'd be a clean fit. And if he's there at 9, I would think the Grizzlies should
if you told me I get Clingan at 9 right now, lock it in, I'd do that. Sure. I don't know if he's going to be there at 9. I don't know that he won't be, but I'm not sure that he will be.
It'll be close.
It'll be close. That's Drew Hill from the Daily Memphian. He's on X at Drew Hill _DM. That's at Drew Hill _DM. Thank you for battling this weather. I appreciate you being here. It's always good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you guys too. Top 25-1, Gary. When Mark Sears comes back,
as soon as Mark Sears announces that he's back, I promise you, I'm getting you up there pretty high.
Okay,
I promise you. Hey, I got good news. Graceland is no longer hitting the auction. And now there's a fraud investigation, and there's a person of interest. We might get to the bottom of this weird story. I'll get you updated on that one next. Gary Parrish Show presented by Ortho South.
This is an actual good shoe.
Yeah, it looks like
this
a good
is
shoe.
real good shoe. What you think about him, KJ? She likes Cheetos.
Like Cheetos?
Yeah, or nay?
You like Cheetos?
Kids, yeah or nay?
That's what I mean. For kids,
kids,
1,000%.
Yeah.
And honestly, if I was still playing basketball, I played in brightly colored shoes. I wore pink shoes a lot of the time or purple shoes. Like, I like that. The Sneak Fest Show, live Tuesdays at 2 p.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
You had 7 games where you had 5 assists or more. Do you know how many times prior to that in your NBA career you have had 5 assists in a game? Twice. How about that?
Your
playmaking, Jared. Playmaking, Jared.
Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd's crazy. Trip Kid is crazy.
The Chris Vernon Show, presented by Caesars Sportsbook, live weekdays at noon on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
This is an actual good shoe.
Yeah, it looks like
this
a good
is a
shoe.
real good shoe.
What you think about him, KJ?
She likes Cheetos.
Like Cheetos?
Yeah, or nay?
You like Cheetos?
Kids, yeah or nay?
That's what I mean. For kids,
kids,
1,000%.
Yeah.
And honestly, if I was still playing basketball, I played in brightly colored shoes. I wore pink shoes a lot of the time or purple shoes. Like, I like that. The Sneak Fest Show, live Tuesdays at 2 p.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
LifeCare Ambulance is proud to be an official partner of the Memphis Grizzlies and FedEx Forum. At LifeCare, they wear their hearts with pride. Their passion is their people. They want you to love what you do and where you do it. Their employee-driven culture encourages a healthy work-life balance and supportive work environment. They invest in your success and well-being so that you can provide the best care for the patients that they serve. Join the incredible team of EMTs and paramedics in Memphis, Nashville, and across the nation today. Learn more at lifecareamb.com.
Let's face it, there's a lot of trash talk in basketball, but the great teams let their performance do the talking. Like Ford F-150 with Pro Power on board, a class-exclusive industry-first feature that turns your truck into a mobile generator and leaves the competition speechless. Ford F-150, official truck of the Grizzlies. Greatness starts here at your Mid-South Ford dealer. Class is full-size pickups under 8,500 pounds, GVWR.
Orthopedic injuries can be unpredictable, unforeseen, and unscheduled, and Ortho South understands this better than anyone. Since your injuries don't make appointments, you don't need to either. And that's because Ortho South welcomes walk-ins during the weekdays and the evenings, and even on Saturdays. So next time an unforeseen injury makes an unscheduled appearance in your life, visit orthosouth.org to find your nearest urgent care location. Just walk in, and Ortho South will take care of everything, especially you. Learn more at orthosouth.org. That's orthosouth at orthosouth.org. And now I got 5 more things you need to know.
Number 1.
The company that was trying to say that Lisa Marie Presley owed them $3.8 million and never paid it back, and therefore they were now in a position to claim Graceland and take our greatest tourist attraction. They now say, hey, we're sorry. No harm meant. The whole thing was fraudulent, just like Riley Keough said. How does this happen? How does it get to a point where you can just make the whole world think for 2 days that you're about to put Graceland up for auction and it's not even real at all? How does that happen?
I don't know. I'm not really sure.
What a wild deal. Like, it never made any sense. Like, none of it ever made any sense. But the whole time I'm sitting there going, but like, they're saying it's 11 o'clock on Thursday. Like, right now, 2 days ago, they were telling us right now in this moment, Graceland would be up for auction. And can you imagine having to do that out in this weather?
Oh, that
could you
would be tough.
imagine holding the Graceland auction in this weather?
How many Elvis fans do you think would show up to that? If it, thankfully it's not, but if it was to happen, you think Elvis fans would show up in this weather to try and bid on this?
I don't know. I do think it would be a scene. Like if it was really like, hey, everybody, and next up for auction. I don't even know how auctions work. I've only been to silent auctions. But if they said something like, next up for auction, got this property down on Elvis Presley Boulevard. They call it Graceland. We'll open the bidding at $10 million. I bet it would have been a scene. I'd have liked to have seen it. If there was a live stream, I'd have watched it. But it turns out there's nothing to it. They say, hey, we're sorry. We didn't mean any harm. We didn't mean to freak everybody out. and we're just gonna move on if everybody's okay with it. But the FBI's involved now too. They want to figure out like how does this happen and who's involved. So now we're gonna have an investigation. I like investigations.
Can't wait to get to the bottom of it. Maybe we get a documentary or a docuseries of this.
How we almost lost Graceland in May 2024.
What's the Hallmark movie? The Hallmark Christmas at Graceland?
Yeah,
Auction at Graceland?
I don't get to the Hallmark Channel too often.
Oh.
You have the Hallmark Channel in your home?
Do I? I got the Hulu TV.
Okay.
So it might be, Hallmark might be there. I just remember people being really excited for a Graceland movie on Hallmark.
Yeah, I don't get to that. I don't get over there too much, but I feel like Hulu could do it at the very least, or Netflix, or maybe even get 50 Cent to make a documentary on it, since he's in the documentary business these days. Either way, everybody relax. This is what I'm trying to tell you. Graceland is not up for auction. It was all fraudulent and a big misunderstanding. And if you want to go see the King's former residence and forever resting place, you're still going to be able to do that for years to come, I imagine.
Number 2.
Hey, guess whose house might actually have to hit the auction, though?
Who?
Antonio Brown.
Oh, no, not CTESPN.
Woo! He's broke as a joke. He's broke as a joke. He's filed bankruptcy, and in the paperwork said he only has $50,000 in assets. He owes people millions of dollars. That's never a good ratio. I mean, I'm not a financial advisor, and I'd be lying if I told you I ain't never made poor decisions with money myself.
Yeah.
But I know this much: if you owe people millions and you got less than 50,000, that's a bad combination.
Yeah.
That's probably how you end up having to file bankruptcy. How's this story end, Antonio Brown? Do you think you'll ever be sitting around in, say, 30 years and you'll be like, Antonio Brown, he's doing good now?
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. It's over. I knew it was over. Not when the baby mama incidents popped off. He had a football team. I'm not sure if it was Canadian football, Arena League. He had some football team, and he got rid of the championship winning head coach right when he got there. And I think he moved the MVP quarterback to the bench, and then he stopped paying everybody. I was like, oh, this man is not right in the head anymore.
Okay.
He's done.
This is the most bananas part of all this. Other than he's allegedly done some really bad things to people.
Yes.
Horrible stuff.
Yes.
This is the craziest financial decision, or just at least maybe this is exactly how you go broke. So in March of last year, this is what you're referencing, I think. He buys 47.5% of the Albany
there we go.
Empire.
There they go.
For $350,000.
Yep.
All right. He buys a football team for $350,000. But he got fined $1,000 for being Antonio Brown. He refused to pay the fine. They kicked him out of the league. He paid $350,000 for a football team and then got the football team kicked out of the league because he wouldn't pay a $1,000 fine.
Yeah.
That's when you know you're not dealing with the brightest guy.
Also, in that he hinted at, or he made it seem like he was going to come and play one weekend.
Yeah, and he didn't. And to your point, he didn't pay the coaches.
He didn't pay the coaches, and he didn't play in that game. Didn't pay the coaches, didn't pay the players. I don't think he paid the custodians. He didn't pay anybody.
He owes a diamond jeweler $1.1 million.
Okay.
Because he got 2 diamond fingers. You familiar with diamond fingers?
No. What?
Diamond. It looks like it looks like a finger sleeve, but it's diamond. Yeah. He got 2 of them for $1.1 million, but never paid for them.
Diamond fingers?
Diamond fingers.
What are you going? You can't bend your finger, so you can't use that hand at all.
It doesn't look like he's just got it on this finger here. So this.
Oh, there we go.
Check him out.
There's for what?
I don't know.
That's how you go broke.
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 We need a TV show called "That's How You Go Broke."
Well, how about this? I work with former NBA players, guys who have made $80 million, $100 million, and it's funny their perspective on this, because we got into a conversation one night, and there's a handful of guys that all made a lot of money, millions of dollars, and they were talking about teammates going broke and how sad it was, and sort of where the conversation settled. They said, you always hear people who don't know, they'll see these guys' houses and these guys' cars,
And they'll say, well, that's how you go broke. Look at him. He had 4 houses and 7 cars. And you know what they said to me?
What?
GP, do you know how much money we make? The problem is never 4 houses, and it's never 7 cars. We could buy 4 houses in a year. We have so much money. You know what they said? Every teammate I had that went broke, they said they fall into these categories. They either started making terrible investments. Like instead of buying 15 Papa John's franchises, they start a record label.
Gotcha.
All right? It's that kind of stuff. It's gambling.
Yeah.
They gamble it away. Or it's too many children with too many different women.
Yep.
Right. He said this is what I said. It is never the cars and the houses. If all you do is buy nice houses and buy nice cars, you'll stay rich forever.
Yeah.
It's the other stuff that can just, like I had one former NBA player. He said I could find out. He said I could find out my wife is cheating on me with you, and we're just staying married. He said there's nothing. He said there's no way.
Financially, man.
He said it's just a mistake. He said that's how you go broke. You go broke. Too many marriages and divorces, kids with different women. That's where they get you. The houses are never the problem. Yeah. The cars are never the problem. That's pennies compared to where you really get hit. And Antonio Brown has had problems in every one of these.
Every single
category.
Every one.
And he might he seems like he's not okay.
Yeah.
You can't do the things he's consistently done if you are.
There's no impulse control there.
There's just there's something not right with it. It's a sad story. I don't feel bad for him because it's all self-inflicted. Yo, man, people have tried to help you and you've pushed it away at every turn. Tom Brady brought you into his home and you blew that up. Tom Brady brought this guy into his home and you blew that up. So I don't feel sorry for him, but I think this can be true. You can not feel sorry for somebody but still go, but man, that's sad.
Yeah.
This guy made his career earnings in the NFL is nearly $90 million. And as of May 2024, he's got less than $50,000. Most people in this building right now have more money than Antonio Brown.
Yeah, that's bad. Anytime I have almost as much money as you, you're in a tough spot, dog.
It's a tough spot.
It's rough.
It's rough. It's rough. So, I wish him luck or I don't, however, whatever I'm supposed to say.
Whatever happens.
Whatever happens, happens. I guess it's not going to change my life too much.
Number 3.
We got a new Dear Jane.
Oh.
I like Dear Janes. I don't know how you feel about them, but I like them. Let me tell you what happens on Dear Jane. There's this woman, her name's Jane.
Right.
And anytime you got a problem, you can write her, and she'll answer you. She'll be like, okay, I see your problem. Sorry you're going through this. And then she'll try to help you solve the problem. And so I just decided at some point, I'd like to cut Jane out of this. I feel like I can solve problems, not my own.
Dear Gary?
Yeah, Dear Gary.
Yeah.
So I just take her questions and I answer them as if I'm Jane.
Okay.
But I want to include Bennett in it, so I do. And I want to include you in it, so we'll just we'll talk through it. And I'll even give you first shot. What do we do? So I'm going to tell you what's going on here, and then we'll talk through it. We'll try to solve this problem. We're Jane. I know neither one of us are Jane, but we're going to pretend we're Jane for a minute.
Let's do it.
All right. Dear Jane, this is because that's the way they all start. My 72-year-old mother was diagnosed with terminal cancer 6 months ago. That's sad.
Yeah.
That's even sadder than the Antonio Brown stuff.
Way sadder.
I think so. Diagnosed with terminal cancer 6 months ago and has been on hospice care for the last few weeks. My dad died a couple of years ago. God, this is the saddest thing I've ever heard. My dad died a couple of years ago, so my brother and I have been taking care of her affairs between the two of us. And we very quickly realized that her finances were in a pretty awful state. Her medical bills have been astronomical and have added a huge amount of debt to what was already a pretty massive hole. My brother and I had already been discussing the sale of the house before she went into hospice. We're both financially stable, but have our own families and can't afford to pay off her debt on our own, so putting the property on the market seemed like the only option. When she went into hospice care, however, we realized it was not just an option to consider, but a choice we needed to make if we were going to have any chance of hauling ourselves out of inheriting a huge amount of debt. We put the house on the market, and a week later, it sold.
Okay.
Very quickly. Which was great.
Yeah.
The thing is, we didn't tell her. We never told her mom.
That's okay.
They thought so too. We didn't want to burden her with the debt or the fact that we'd be the ones dealing with it because we were afraid she'd insist on going home and saving on medical bills. In other words, she needs to be in hospice care. And they wanted her, they didn't want to not be able to afford to keep her there. So they sold the home to keep her in the hospice care, or at least in part.
Yeah.
All right. Looking back, she writes, this was a stupid decision. And now she's told us that she does want to leave hospice so she can die peacefully in her home. So Mom says, hey, I know it's over. I don't have much time left, but I raised you in this home. My best memories with your father were in our home. I want to die at home. They don't own the home anymore.
Right.
It's gone. But they never told her. So the question to Jane is, now what? What do we do? Our mom wants to die at home.
Yeah.
We don't have the home. Yeah. What do we do? What do you do?
Let her die where she dies at. She's finna die soon. Like, she's fine. Like, sorry, Ma, we sold it. You got to stay in hospice. You could come to one of our houses, though, if that would make you feel more comfortable. But unfortunately, we sold the house. I'm sorry, Ma.
Okay. Maybe. Tell me if, here's what I think. Tell me if this is wrong. Because what I'm about to submit is a lie. I'm going to encourage these people to lie to their dying mother.
Perfect. Yes.
You know what I'm going to say? I'm going to get with the staff at the hospice center. And I'm going to say, I'm going to explain, I'm going to tell them the truth. Here's what happened. Here's our situation. I need you guys to make sure my mother understands that she can't go home. Well, she could go home. I know. But I need you to make her understand that she can't. She needs to stay here to get the proper care and be comfortable. She needs to stay here. I need your help on this. All right? And then we're going to tell Mom that going home simply isn't an option. Not because home doesn't exist, but because this is where you need to be. And let her die without ever being burdened with the idea that her house was sold out from underneath her, because why add that to this equation at that point? It's over. It's like she's got a week left or 2 weeks left or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you want to put that on her? Oh my, because she'll react emotionally to that. If she's so connected to this place that she wants to die at home, then she will react negatively emotionally to the news that you've sold her home. So just keep it from her and let her die in peace. Is it wrong to lie to her? I say it's not.
No.
I say at that point you're trying to take care of your mother and make her the most comfortable, and lying is the thing that makes her the most comfortable.
Yeah.
I'm ready to lie.
I've lied for way less
Me too.
important things.
Absolutely. I'll lie about anything.
That. That's a good plan.
Yeah.
I started with the tell the truth thing and just like take whatever repercussions come from it. But like lying is the way to go here.
Sometimes because people always say you should always tell the truth. I have never believed that. I understand the sentiment. I'm not encouraging people to go out there and just lie their way through life. But sometimes lying is preferable. Sometimes lying can be helpful, like on a very basic level. You ready for one? Hey, do a fat person ask you, do I look fat in this? Maybe just lie.
Well,
maybe just lie. You tell the truth there? Is it really best to tell the truth? No. Do I look fat in this? Yes, you do, because you're fat. What? No. Maybe just lie.
Do you look fat in that? No. Are you fat? Yes.
Yeah. But isn't that a place where it's maybe just best to lie?
Yeah.
Right. So I think this is another place where it's probably just best to lie. Because I guarantee these kids, they're adults, but like these children, they didn't want to sell their family home. I'm confident they did it out of necessity. And I bet you it was hard for them to do. I remember when my grandparents passed, my father sold their home down in Alabama. And that was real hard for him. I remember that being really hard. It was necessary, I guess. I don't remember asking too many questions. But I remember that being a hard day for him. I went to Alabama with him to sign the paperwork and stuff. I just remember that being hard for him. And, I don't think he ever had to tell my grandparents that he did that.
Yeah.
So I understand why these people would be like, oh, God, we're going to break Mom's heart. So you know how to not break Mom's heart?
Don't tell her.
Don't tell her.
Don't tell her.
I think that's the way you solve this. Lie to your dying mother. I know that's not perfect advice, but I think it works here.
Yeah. I'll rock with it.
Yeah, I think we got it.
Number 4.
Big news this morning. WNBA is expanding.
Oh.
They're adding another team. Guess where they're putting it?
Toronto.
Sounds dangerous to me. I don't know if y'all been following the news. Sounds dangerous to me.
What's the news?
Kendrick Lamar just said, LeBron keep the family away.
Oh, yeah.
Curry keep the family away. He's a fan. And now we're sending an entire team of young women to Drake's hometown. What are we doing?
Aren't they of legal age, though? Like, he's not interested in that. Allegedly, reportedly, according to Kendrick.
He's allegedly a groomer.
Oh. According to Kendrick, yeah.
You want him grooming young WNBA players?
They're too old to be groomed. Like, you got to catch them at, like, 14, 15. What was Millie Bobby Brown's age?
I don't know how to groom.
Like,
I don't know how to groom. I'm not going to argue with you about how to groom. I don't know how to groom. I've never groomed.
I worked at a place where that was part of the training was, hey, be on the lookout for these sorts of things.
I never groomed.
I
don't know how to groom.
I know what grooming kind of looks like. And so my thing is he going to be able to scout high schoolers? Because that's the issue.
I just don't think sending young women to Toronto's smart at this point. Well, I just think maybe I would.
Where you going to send them? Vancouver?
Just literally anywhere other than Drake's hometown.
Also, Drake's got money, though. He can fly anywhere if he's that interested.
Make him do the work then. We can't be sending these women to Drake.
All right.
Kendrick told us not to do this. He told Steph Curry keep his family away. WNBA said we're sending all these women to Toronto.
And Drake is there for the announcement, too, right? Yeah.
It's not good.
Drake is so happy right now.
This is not good. I did see the video. It's like Drake sitting there talking to Kyle Lowry.
Okay.
What do you think it's like walking around being Drake right now? You think that's tough?
No.
You think it's still awesome?
No, he's rich and he's got money. And I mentioned he's rich. He's fine.
I know, but this other dude just told the whole world the culture doesn't respect you. That must be hard to deal with.
He's still getting women and girls of all ages, possibly.
No, not of all ages.
He's fine.
Not of all ages.
Yes.
I don't know. I wouldn't like to be Drake right now.
Why?
Because I wouldn't want the whole world. I like to be respected by the culture.
Oh, okay.
I feel like I'm respected by the culture. Do you think I'm respected by the culture?
No.
Damn it.
No.
I thought I was respected by the culture.
I don't think so, Gary.
Well, let's ask Devin.
Ask Devin. Devin is way more connected to the culture than I am. He would know.
I just know if Kendrick Lamar decided to later on today tell the whole world that I'm not respected by the culture, that would hurt me.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And that would make me not want to be around Kyle Lowry at all. I just think it's tough to be Drake right now. And Drake has every advantage over me. He's taller.
Yep.
He's just, I think, more talented.
Okay.
Even if he's a colonizer. He's a colonizer, but still talented. He's a talented colonizer.
I guess so.
And Drake has every in a box. Of course, I'd rather be Drake than me, but not right now. I don't think.
Oh,
I don't think so. And I sure don't think it's smart to be doing what the WNBA is doing. This is going to end up in a lawsuit. Is he going
to be an owner?
It's going to be, they're going to sue the WNBA and be like, why did you send all these young women to Toronto? K-Dot told you what was happening.
Do you think he gets to be like a part owner or something like that of the team? Because that gets real dangerous. That becomes interesting.
We're going to look back on this and say this was a mistake. We could have put this team in Kansas City or something. Yeah. You know? We could have put this team in St. Louis. In Toronto?
That close to Drake. Even though he has a private jet and it's like an hour-and-a-half flight from Toronto to St. Louis, I guess. I don't know.
It's going to be a problem.
Okay.
Hey, I don't want to say I told you so, but we'll get there. I'll be telling you so someday.
Number 5.
McDonald's chef has gone viral. Okay. Now you might be thinking McDonald's couldn't possibly have chefs, but they do.
All right.
All right. They sit in the lab and they make McDonald's food. So he's gone viral. And you know what he said? You know what he's suggesting?
What?
He's suggesting that the hamburgers and the cheeseburgers, the cheap items at McDonald's on the menu, like the value menu, what we used to know as the value menu, he said they're intentionally making these products worse. They're getting worse, and it's intentional. And the reason they're making them intentionally worse is because McDonald's knows you're coming to McDonald's no matter what. So now the goal is we don't want you coming to McDonald's and buying a little cheeseburger. We want you buying a quarter pounder with cheese that costs 3 times as much money. So if you hate the cheeseburger and hate the hamburger because they've fallen off, then you just order something else, and now we're making more money. It's a conspiracy involving McDonald's. Do you buy this?
Yes, absolutely I do. But I I'll push it a step further. I think all of fast food, not just this one and not just the cheap stuff, I think all of fast food has gotten significantly smaller and worse while increasing the prices because they know
that's a fact.
You're coming no matter what. You're coming. You're hungry. You're not thinking right. You're lazy. You don't want to have to cook and then clean and prep the food. So you're coming no matter what. So we could just get away with throwing any piece of slop in front of you. You're gonna buy it and eat it no matter what.
I have noticed, like when I just drive through a fast food place, like it's $15 every time now.
Oh God.
And it didn't used to be that.
Yeah.
So there's no question that prices have increased, but this was very specific. It's not just I think cheeseburgers are smaller or worse. It's that they are intentionally making this an item that you no longer want so that you will buy the more expensive things. But that implies that they are so secure in the idea that people are coming to McDonald's no matter what. Are they? Do people go to McDonald's no matter what? I can't tell you the last time I was at McDonald's.
When's the last time you had fast food?
Yesterday.
Okay. All right.
But I can't tell you the last time I went to McDonald's.
Yeah.
Because, and I did grow up as somebody who would go to McDonald's. Because
that was a treat. That was an exciting day for us.
Yeah, but often, tell me if this is right. I have no idea, but it feels like this is right. It would be like, let's go to McDonald's because it's the only thing here. But now, anywhere there's a McDonald's, there is 10 other things. Mm-hmm. So there are always options around a McDonald's. And I guess I just find, I mean, I live 5 minutes from McDonald's. I genuinely can't remember the last time I drove through there or went inside there. With my oldest son, I feel like we used to get caught up in the Happy Meals.
Yeah.
That was a trick. Like kids want Happy Meals. But my little guys, they're just not exposed to Happy Meals or they got too much stuff. I don't know what, probably both. But they don't ever say, let's go to McDonald's and get a Happy Meal. So McDonald's is just out of our life. So if you're making the bad menu items intentionally bad, the cheap ones bad, to make me buy the more expensive ones because I'm going to be there anyway, you're assuming I'm going to be there anyway. And I'm telling you, I'm not going to be. I don't know that this works. That's what makes me think I don't think it's intentional. I think maybe the cheeseburgers just suck.
Cheeseburgers do suck.
Do they?
Absolutely. I think people are going still to McDonald's.
Well, clearly.
I don't know who, but people are still going in droves, and so maybe this affects them. You're not going to get any new business coming in because your affordable options, your more affordable options are so bad. So maybe they said, forget getting new people coming. We'll just milk the people we know are going to come. We'll just try and get them for everything they got.
I just wonder if that's a good strategy because when in my hometown McDonald's, I will within a mile of that McDonald's have the option of Wendy's, Zaxby's, Taco Bell, Arby's, Subway, Starbucks. Like everything's right there. There's a million other drive-thrus right there, and I never go to the McDonald's one. I'll go to the other ones, but I won't go to McDonald's. I think they're just making terrible cheeseburgers for some reason. Yeah. But I haven't had one in years. I wouldn't know.
I go to McDonald's once a year.
Right.
Once a year, it's my treat. I've always hated McDonald's cheeseburgers. I only go for the McNuggets. Get the 20-piece and an orange high C sweet and sour sauce. Be on my way.
Okay. That probably cost you about $40 these days.
Oh, easily.
Easy.
$35.99.
It's tough out there, man. Anyway, I don't know what they're doing at McDonald's, but I thought it was interesting. They got a McDonald's chef.
Do you think they're the only one doing something like that? Like, would it surprise you if a chef for Taco Bell came out and said, hey, Taco Bell's making tacos significantly worse to get you to buy?
I will say that this approach to advertising, for lack of a better, is something that exists in other spaces. Like the ones where I think this used to be controversial, maybe even illegal, when newspapers were a thing and people would, newspapers were funded by car lots largely, or at least in part. And because people would open it up and you look at, oh, look, here's all the stuff at Jim Carrey's Chevrolet and here's all the stuff at Gossett, Toyo, whatever. And one of the things that they would do, they'd get in trouble for this, or at least it was controversial. They'd put a car in there and it was like the best deal you've ever seen. And it was like this car and it looks great and it's really cheap. And that would be the thing that draws everybody out there. Then you'd get there and guess what?
It wouldn't be there.
It's not there anymore. But hey, we got this other thing to show you. And they just use this thing to draw you in, and then they get you to buy the other stuff that they want you to buy. So maybe this is like a cousin to that. But I don't know. I think the cheeseburgers probably just stink. It's just simple as that. We'll see. I'm just going to go to Taco Bell, I think. I like everything on that menu.
The money's going to the same place. It's fine.
Be back with GP's Carryout.
I will take High School Musical with my fifth and final pick because it is a sports movie. You do got to get your head in the game. I love High School Musical. I love musicals. Sports and musicals can coexist in this beautiful world. What a beautiful, beautiful movie. Even though High School Musical 1 is not even the best of the High School Musicals.
Tune in to the Jessica Benson Show with CJ Hurt live every weekday at 8 a.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Hey Grizzlies fans, turn your stadium excitement into betting action at Southland Casino Hotel. As a proud sponsor of the Memphis Grizzlies, Southland brings you more gaming action than ever before. Step onto our massive casino floor stretching more than 2.5 football fields. Slot enthusiasts can enjoy more than 2,300 machines from penny slots to high limits and play the hottest games like Aristocrat, Dollar Storm, Cloverlink, and Lightning Cash. Table game aficionados can feel the thrill of the felt with 50 live table games. From 3-card to blackjack match, we're ready to deal you in. Plus, don't miss stadium gaming for an interactive digital experience. And for high rollers, our high limit room is calling your name. Go big on 6 high limit blackjack tables or spin one of our 54 high stakes slot machines. Throw in 8 delicious dining options and a 300-room high-rise hotel, and there's plenty to keep you going. At Southland Casino Hotel, the gaming excitement never stops.
Must be 21 plus. Play responsibly. For help quitting, call 800-522-4700.
Let's talk about MVPs.
Let's do it. I went with the Joker.
Oh my God,
Nikola Jokic.
Nikola freaking Jokic.
Every time I watch him play, I'm so impressed.
I'm obsessed with him.
Yep.
Everything he does works. He can pass, he can shoot, he can rebound, he can drive, he can defend. Like, he can do everything.
He can lead the fast break, and he's like 7-1.
IMHO with Lang Whitaker and me, Kelsey Wright Johnson, on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Nate Bargatze, the Be Funny Tour.
I mean, Chuck E. Cheese is rough. I don't know if you've been there in a while. They look like they're trying to go to business and they can't.
All new material.
They filed for bankruptcy and they're still open. They called Blockbuster and they're like, how do you get out? We want out.
Nate Bargatze, Friday, May 31st, FedEx Forum. Tickets available at FedEx Forum box office or Ticketmaster.com. Produced by Outback Presents Nate Bargatze, the Be Funny Tour.
It's time for GP's Carryout. One final segment filled with stuff to take with you. It's not everything you need to know, but it's most of it. What did we learn today?
A whole bunch of stuff, but I think the main thing to focus on is that it's okay to lie sometimes. Not all the time. You shouldn't make a habit out of it, I don't think. But I do believe it's okay to lie sometimes. And one of those times would be when you don't want to burden your dying mother with the fact that you've sold her house out from underneath her to help cover her medical expenses. I gather the chat was not in total agreement with that. They think maybe you shouldn't lie to your dying mother.
Oh.
But I think in this case, it's not only okay, it's the smart thing to do. What is hospice supposed to be anyway? Make somebody comfortable so that they can spend their final days as comfortable as they can be. Why you want to add stress to the situation by telling your mom you sold a house that you never thought she was going to return to anyway? I think lying's the right way to go. I just think sometimes do you know what Jane said?
What did Jane say? She's the expert.
She is the expert.
She's the expert.
Do you know what Jane said?
What'd she say?
First off, you did nothing wrong. Mm-hmm. You are trying to navigate this very complicated and sad time. Most people in America who go broke, it is tied to medical bills and stuff like that. And so you were trying to lessen that burden on yourself. And all you really did at the end of the day is sell a home that you thought nobody was going to live in ever again. So you didn't do anything wrong. Don't beat yourself up. But now we got to figure out how to handle this. And you need to just convince your mother that she does not need to go home. Don't tell her that she can't. Just convince her that she doesn't need to, that it's not best for her. And In other words, lie or mislead or don't tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. I co-sign that. Jane and I, we're on the same page.
What's today's biggest game?
All right. We're back in the Eastern Conference Finals. It's Pacers Celtics, 7 o'clock tonight. TD Garden. Boston up 1-0 after stealing game 1. They were down 3. They didn't have the ball. Less than 10 seconds to play. Still, they get the game to overtime. Jaylen Brown corner 3, and they win it. Tonight, Boston, 8.5-point favorite. Total's 224.5. I know you're not Big Bet Bennett, but if you want to play this game, I'll give you the opportunity to do it right now. How are you going to act?
I will take the over the 225.
Okay.
And I will take the Pacers to cover.
Pacers plus 8.5 over that total of 224.5. I just hope we get a good game. You wonder how they'll respond after having their hearts ripped out. That's a hard thing to respond to. But, they did go down 2-0 to the Knicks and responded. Yeah. They did have a game 7 in the Garden, responded. They've responded before. So we'll see if they respond tonight. 7 o'clock tip. You'll be able to watch that on ESPN.
What are we watching on TV?
So there's a new episode of Hacks that drops today on the Max app. It's in season 3. I've talked about it before. I just started season 3 yesterday. They're like 5-6 episodes in. The reviews are just as strong for season 3 as they've been for seasons 1 and 2. So if you're looking for a new 30 to 45 minute per episode comedy to watch, I can't recommend it enough. It's tremendous. Hacks started season 1, episode 1. But if you're already caught up, I got good news. A new episode drops today on Max.
What's the best thing we've read?
Well, Mark Giannotto over at the Commercial Appeal had a column about Taylor Jenkins in the hot seat. We talked to Drew Hill about it earlier in the show. If you missed that, well, you shouldn't have. That's not really the way podcasts work. So you should have seen that, right? So talk to Drew Hill about it. If you haven't read the column from Giannotto, you can find it. It's available right now, commercialappeal.com.
What's on tap for tomorrow?
Well, I hope we get this rain taken care of. I hope we get this stopped. This will sure screw up a Thursday, won't it? Hope it doesn't mess up on Memorial Day weekend.
It's already ruined my kickball for the 5th straight week.
I'm sorry you're having to go through that.
It's painful. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry you're having to deal with that.
Thank you. Miss you, foul balls.
Man, it's tough to have kickball taken away from you like that,
Get so excited for kickball.
I know.
All winter long, all I think about is getting back on the kickball diamond.
Yeah, it's like
finally get to do it every week. Every week. 5 straight weeks.
I know.
It's been this on Thursday.
I know.
Rain another day.
Life's not fair, man.
Rain on Saturday.
Nobody ever said life was fair.
No. It's not.
Toronto's got a WNBA franchise, for crying out loud. Nobody ever said life was fair.
No.
All right. Friday. But Jessica's not going to be here tomorrow.
Jessica's not here tomorrow.
I don't have any idea what we're doing tomorrow. All right? Jessica decided she don't want to work.
Yes.
I think Bennett will be back. We'll figure it out. I got 22 hours to figure it out. We'll figure it out. All right? Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to enjoy mine. We're going to meet back here tomorrow at 10. Till then, be careful, be kind, be good. Rep your hood.